Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to welcome back to another edition of Foreclosurepedia Podcast. Foreclosurepedia Podcast, presentation of Foreclosurepedia Radio Network. Today is Sunday, the 10th of September. The time is 15:01 hours Eastern Daylight Time. We have on the line right now Bret Douglas. Bret Douglas of Ironclad. He's down there in the Darby area, Orlando Central. For those of you who don't know where that is, perhaps Daytona, you might identify with that. Bret, are you out there?
We are. We're trying to make it through this.
What? So we see that the hurricane is making landfall down there in Naples. Why don't you tell everybody in the Foreclosurepedia Nation where you're at located in Florida and what you're seeing right now?
Well, yeah, I think that it must be some kind of massive storm because we started early this morning hitting the early rain bands. And conditions just deteriorated till just right now where it's just a steady downpour. We haven't had the wind shear yet, but we're definitely getting, copious amounts of the rainfall. And we're near kind of between Daytona and Orlando, so we're about as central Florida as you can get. We're in the center part of the Florida of the state.
Now, I heard your county had a mandatory evacuation. Is that correct?
Well, there was some parts of it, and they have a definite. I know for one thing, they definitely have mandatory curfews. I guess they're concerned about the looting, so they definitely. I didn't really realize they quit the alcohol sales too. They don't want any shenanigans going on. So we're about dry right now. So if you don't have it or have friends at other restaurants, I don't think you're gonna be drinking. So I'm with the family sequestered in the concrete house. I don't foresee any of us running old school style, Frank the Tank down the streets in the middle of the hurricane. So.
Hey, we're going to get you an emergency truckload of moonshine from Tennessee down to you as soon as possible. Yes.
Is it got the corn floating around it? I heard that was the good stuff. The grease lightning.
Oh yeah, we got that. We'll send you some peach. Because I know you have children. How are your children and how's your wife holding up? And the storm hasn't even hit there, so knowing that this is going to come and it's going to hit you, how are all you guys coping with that so far?
Well, I think the hardest part about these hurricanes is not even really the actual fact. When it does get really close in, the scariest thing, and I'm thinking of other states, around America that probably don't realize we have these types of trees that are called live oaks. And the live oaks tend to be these, 100-year-old century trees. And so you're talking about a tree that probably has a weight somewhere around 20,000 pounds. And when these trees, the problem is they have very shallow roots that are these magnificent, massive trees. But unfortunately, the only way they usually come down is exactly this. When you have these long storm systems that sit in, the winds and the counterclockwise rotation tend to take them where they do an avulsion, they'll literally just rip right out of the ground. And these trees, when they come down, they're killers. They'll take out your car. Right now, everybody's freaking about their cars, the houses. We've got one right next to us that's probably 12 foot around. And, when this thing comes down, it would take everything out of its path. So it's a little nerve-wracking, that's for sure.
Now, you used to do a heck of a lot of landscape for Disney itself, and you've been through these classes. When myself and others, we think of Florida, we think of, the beautiful palm trees, all the incredible flowers. When we talk about after the storm hits, what type of damage do you think is going to happen? Let's say with the palm trees, the uprooting, what type of cleanouts, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is actually one of your specialties. So in the event after the storm has hit, your company actually deals with that type of stuff. Is that correct?
Well, yes, sir. That's kind of so we have a double-edged sword. First of all, primarily palm trees. When you mention palm trees have a certain problem because they're made of a fibrous type material. They're kind of like a spongy type material. So when the wind, what happens is when the wind shear starts to bend them, they'll actually break in half, and then they become what we call totems. So they'll actually literally the whole tops will be top heavy. They'll literally snap in half, and so we have that damage that not only have the tree that's separated now, we have to, take care of the top part. Now you have to cut the bottom off because it's not going to regrow. You have the branches that the palm shoots tend to scatter everywhere. And with the massive amount of trees down, the problem is it gets compounded. we have in Florida, unlike any other state, we have these zero lot lines. So what happens is when these huge trees come down, not only do they impact the house that they're in, but 9 times out of 10 they're coming down on pool enclosures, they're coming down in the neighbor's yard, the neighbor's house is coming down. It makes quite a mess. So we have a really bad problem with down power lines in top of our construction areas. We don't really know what's what until we get a chance to get out and see it. But it's definitely going to be an event that'll be, we're looking at 60 days, 90 days even to just get the material out of the way. So until we can even have a recovery, if that's even without the flooding around here, like out in Texas, our biggest problem is going to be the tree debris that's everywhere. And that is something that, FEMA responds down by other contractors. But what people misunderstand is the FEMA contractors that come down, Paul, they're not actually in the properties extracting the debris. What we do is there's people who then take all the stuff down off the houses on the lot lines, and we take them out to the street, and then these FEMA contractors come by with grapple hooks, bobcats, and they're loading stuff just from the street. They're not even coming onto the private properties.
When we is it conceivable, because most of us think of Florida as palm trees? I mean, these aren't things that you just go buy at Lowe's. I mean, are they? I mean, literally in time going forward, we could see a landscape in Florida without all the beautiful palm trees in many areas that we go through. Is that a fair assessment? I presume they're grown like we grow pine trees for lumber, so they're growing pine or palm trees down there, and those farms are going to be wiped out. Is that possible?
Well, that's exactly. I mean, that's a really cool observation. A lot of people don't realize that a lot of the specimen trees that we have are mature, and when you start looking at Phoenix Silvestri palms, Canary Island date palms, some of the Bismarckia palms are dotting the landscape now that are really more subtropical from down in Miami. But some of these what we call, key landscape features, especially in Disney, especially a lot of the resort areas, these things are anywhere from 20 to 30 years old, and they're magnificent specimens that have just taken time to mature, and the cost prohibitive to actually replace them. So even if we could find specimens, our landscape is going to forever be changed, because what happens is you have a lot of juvenile material where you used to have, somewhat middle-aged and mature type specimens, and they're all going to get wiped out. So from a horticultural standpoint, these disastrous, hurricanes and events are kind of like, catastrophic for us, because we cringe when we see all our older material being wiped out. And it's exactly like you said. You go and see these little models that you find at the stores that are only, 3-4 years old. They're not going to replace a 30-year-old specimen.
When we so can you tell our listeners today how to get a hold of you after the storm is hit, once you guys are back squared away, to assist these people migrating out from the landscape plans and the engineering they used to have into just getting back, if you will, to some type of normalcy? Because Team Ironclad, that's what you people do down there, and that's what you've done for decades. Can you tell them how to get a hold of you?
Well, I certainly will. And most people remember, we've kind of transitioned a little bit out of the property preservation. And, you and I have always talked about it candidly that, I'm a degreed horticulturist, and my background has always been managing Disney and then large green belts and material. I was the Orlando Utilities Commission horticulturist and things like that. But we've moved into a new compound. We're in DeBary, Florida. We're in a beautiful place. Hopefully one day we'll be able to host some more events and do some things. But we're now at our new phone number is 386-668-6954. And we're over there in beautiful DeBary, Florida. And we're actually on the Facebook now a lot more. I think it's one of the things that you and I talked about that I remember years ago when I met you, you said that how powerful social media was, and I didn't quite understand what you were saying. And pretty much nowadays, we use that as our Roman roads, as you would say. We're on different things. On Facebook, I have our team, Facebook page is Ironclad Landscape Management. And then we also have a charity, a Christian charity called DeBary Legacy. And our DeBary Legacy group reaches out, and put a plug out to them. We cater to the people who are elderly, medically and mentally challenged that basically couldn't afford the services of our horticultural. We are a premium company. A lot of them can't afford our services, so we go out and actually provide those services for free. So just a gratuitous shout-out to DeBary Legacy, our Facebook group. anybody ever wants to look that up all around America, it's something that we're trying to do as a splinter movement that it can grow to show God's mercy through word and deed into other areas of America. DeBary Legacy, if anybody wants to join our group and then see what we're all about in our ministry. In fact, you and I were just talking off air about that today, right before the storm hit, somebody backed over somebody's deep water well. And if you're an intelligent guy, you know about wells.
Yeah.
Once you break that water source, their whole house was compromised. So we rushed over in the pouring rain and put that well back together for free, not even a dime, And so we brought all the materials and labor, and that's what we do for our community. So,
and I'm going to let you go here in a second to get back with your family.
No problem, sir.
To be preparing, but in the event, what I'd like to do is two things. I'd like to follow up with you as the storm starts to get closer.
Sure.
And then, in addition, if anybody who is listening today would like to become involved in that charity, can they just reach out to you, reach out to Team Ironclad, and you can point them in the direction? Excellent, excellent. Well, my brother,
Sure,
I hope you stay safe. We got the farm up here. Anybody listening to me, if you're down there after the storm and you've lost everything, it's not fancy. Bret's been up here. It's just a farm, but it'll keep you safe. My brother, I'm going to let you go right now. I appreciate.
Well, you might see that black Lincoln out there. I know that. By the way, if we started coming there without reaching out to you ahead of time, your neighbors would let you know. We're 30 miles away, but we might be creeping up there just to say hi. So
we'll do that, ladies and gentlemen. We've been speaking with Bret Douglas today with Team Ironclad. He's down there. The storm is bearing down upon he and his family. He's still got great spirits. Let's keep him in our thoughts and our prayers, ladies and gentlemen.